So for this question, we're simplifying an exponential expression, and what we have is we have one phrase or expression within parentheses, and then we have another one here, the 3x all to the power of negative 5. We assume that there is a multiplication sign in between, and that we are multiplying this expression by this expression. But before we multiply, what we want to do is apply this power of negative 5 as it's outside of the parentheses to everything inside the parentheses. So that will give us 3 to the power of negative 5, x to the power of negative 5. And now that's in parentheses, and we keep that first expression in parentheses the same. Just barely enough room there. There we go. So I've applied that power of negative 5 to everything inside the parentheses. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take the coefficient of 3 here, and I'm going to multiply it by this 3 to the power of negative 5. They're the same base of 3, so I can do that. This one here doesn't have an exponent, and when you don't have an exponent, you assume it to be 1. So what we have here is 3 to the power of 1 times 3 to the power of negative 5. And when you're multiplying numbers with exponents that have the same base, we're just going to add the exponent. So I'll get 3 to the power of 1 plus negative 5. Then for the next one, and I'll just leave it like that for now, I'll simplify it later. The next one, I'm going to multiply my x to the power of negative 5 times x to the power of negative 5. So that's going to give me x to the power of negative 5 plus negative 5. And then lastly, I have y times z to the power of negative 3, but there's nothing over here. So it's just going to stay the same. It's as if we are multiplying by 1. So we're taking y z to the power of negative 3 times 1. So we just write it as is. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify these exponents. So this first one, 3 to the power of 1 plus negative 5, is going to be 3 to the power of negative 4. X to the power of negative 5 plus negative 5 will be negative 10. And then I just write down yz negative 3. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to simplify this expression by writing all of my powers as positive numbers. You don't want your final answer to have any negative exponents. They should be written as a positive exponent. So this is what you do. So I just raised my expression up a little bit just so that I have more room. Oop. Looking at 3 to the power of negative 4, and I'm going to write this in green over here. 3 to the power of negative 4 is the same as saying 1 over 3 to the power of 4. So I've made it into a positive exponent by putting it under 1 in a fraction. Same goes for x to the power of negative 10. So x to the power of negative 10 is the same as 1 over x to the power of positive 10. The y doesn't have an exponent, so we just say it's 1, so we can leave it as that. But z, our last one, z to the power of negative 3 is the same as 1 over z to the power of positive 3. So how do we write that now? What we want to do is, it is going to be a fraction. The only part of the expression that stays in the numerator position is going to be our y because it has a positive exponent. So we leave that like that. And then everything else goes on the bottom. 3 to the power of 4, which is this. X to the power of 10, which was this one right here. And then finally, z to the power of 3. And as all of those were under 1, we put them all in that denominator position. I've almost got this simplified enough, except for this 3 to the power of 4. So we have 3 to the power of 4 is 81, x to the power of 10, and z to the power of 3. This is my most simplified form of that expression. Notice that the exponents are in positive form, and it is in a fraction at the end, but that's no problem. That works out okay. So that's it for simplifying expressions with exponents. Thank you for watching.